Good morning, students. So, in yesterday class, we discussed colloids and different types of colloids. And these colloids are classified based on three factors. The first one is based on the physical state of dispersed phase and dispersion medium. And second one is the affinity between dispersed phase and dispersion medium. Third one is based on the nature of the dispersed phase particles. In that, the first one, yesterday we discussed, there is a classification based on physical state of dispersed phase and dispersion medium. Now come to the second classification, the classification based on affinity between dispersed phase and dispersion medium. So based on affinity between dispersed phase and dispersion medium, the colloids are classified into two types. They are lyophilic colloids and lyophobic colloids. So here the term lyo means nothing but a solvent. Philic means loving. Solvent loving colloids. This is a lyophobic, means a solvent hating colloids. That means if there exists a strong affinity between dispersed phase and dispersion medium, that is called as a lyophilic colloid. If there is no affinity, or if there is very less affinity between dispersed phase and dispersion medium, then it is called as lyophobic colloid. So here if you take a affinity, in case of lyophilic colloids, there exists a strong affinity between dispersed phase and dispersion medium. In case of lyophobic colloids, there exists a less affinity or almost no affinity between dispersed phase and dispersion medium. So the colloidal solution are the colloids in which there exists strong affinity between dispersed phase and dispersion medium is called lyophilic colloid. The colloidal solution in which there exists less affinity or no affinity between dispersed phase and dispersion medium, that is called as lyophobic colloid. Let us take some example for lyophilic colloids. See, naturally occurring substances like starch, cellulose, protein, gum. So when these dispersed in water, they forms lyophilic colloids. Lyophobic colloids: smoke, cloud, gold colloidal solution, silver colloidal solution, sulfur colloidal solution. These are some examples for lyophilic colloids. Now let us see the comparison between lyophilic and lyophobic. And one more, these are also called as hydrophilic and hydrophobic colloid if the solvent is, that is dispersion medium, is water. If the dispersion medium is water, then these are called as hydrophilic colloids. These are called as hydrophobic colloids. Other than water, if any solvent is there, simply we use the term lyophilic and lyophobic. Now see the differences between, or the comparison between lyophilic and lyophobic colloids. This is a very important question for PUC. This question they ask more frequently. Now come to the first one, affinity. In case of lyophilic, there exists a strong affinity between dispersed phase and dispersion medium. Strong affinity between dispersed phase and dispersion medium. In case of this, there exists a less or no affinity between dispersed phase and dispersion medium. So in case of lyophilic, there exists a strong affinity. In case of lyophilic, there is no or less affinity. This is the first comparison. Now come to stability. So it's a lyophilic colloids are more stable. whereas leophobic colloids are less stable. Why leophilic are more stable, leophobic are less stable? Because here between dispersed phase and dispersion medium there exists a strong affinity. That's why this leophilic colloid is stable. Here there is no affinity, or there exists only weak affinity. That's why leophobic colloids are less stable. Due to strong affinity, more stable. Due to less affinity, these are less stable. Preparation. How to prepare these colloidal solution? I will take an example here, starch. How we can prepare starch solution? Just directly by dissolving starch in either cold water or hot water. By the direct dissolution, by the direct mixing of dispersed phase and dispersion medium, we can prepare this leophilic colloids. So by direct mixing, of dispersed phase and dispersion medium, we can prepare leophilic colloid. Example, starch. Now I will take a gold colloidal solution. I want to disperse gold particles in water. Is it possible to dissolve gold in water? Not possible. Then how it is possible to prepare a gold colloidal solution is by using some specific methods, what is called as a Bredig arc method. Like there are some specific methods are there for preparation of leophobic colloids. Of course, we'll discuss those methods. Now here, these leophobic colloids are prepared by some specific methods. By using some specific methods, we can prepare leophobic colloids. That is whether oxidation or reduction or hydrolysis, double decomposition or electric disintegration, like the different methods are there. By using some special methods or some specific methods, we can prepare leophobic colloids. Whereas leophilic colloids can be prepared by direct mixing of dispersed phase and dispersion medium. Suppose if you want to prepare a protein colloidal solution, just dissolve egg white in water. Egg white is soluble in water. Or take a gum, solid gum, dissolve the solid gum in water, then we can get a gum colloidal solution. So these are prepared by direct mixing of dispersed phase and dispersion medium. Now come to here, reversibility. Next one, leophilic colloids are reversible, whereas leophobic colloids are irreversible. Why leophilic colloids are reversible whereas leophobic colloids are irreversible? Take a gum, solid gum, just dissolve in water, which is naturally obtained from plants. From plants we can extract gum. So dissolve that gum in water, then we can get a colloidal solution. Now again evaporate that solution, we can get solid gum. Again dissolve the gum in water, we can get back a colloidal solution. That means once if dispersed phase and dispersion medium get separated, even though thereafter once again if we mix them, we can get back the original colloidal solution. That means after separation also, by mixing both the phases, again we can get back the original colloid. A number of times we can separate, we can add, then we can get back the original colloidal solution as it is. That means leophilic colloids are reversible in nature. Whereas in this case, once if dispersed phase and dispersion medium get separated, we cannot get back the original colloid by direct mixing. For example, from smoke, I get precipitate smoke particles, there is carbon particles by using a precipitator. Then we can get carbon powder. Now, again by spraying carbon powder in air, can you get back original smoke? Not possible. Or milk. So on centrifugation of milk, we can separate liquid fat. Again by adding liquid fat to milk, there is a water, can you get back the original milk as it is? Not possible. Means in this case, once if you separate dispersed phase and dispersion medium, we cannot get back the original colloid by direct mixing. Again, we can get back by some specific methods. It is possible. By direct mixing, once it is, we cannot get back the original colloidal solution. That's why these are irreversible in nature. So On separation of dispersed phase and dispersion medium, again on mixing both the phases, we can get back the original colloid in case of lyophilic. That's why these are reversible. In case of lyeophobic, once if we separate dispersed phase and dispersion medium, we cannot get back the original colloid by direct mixing of both the phases. That's why it is irreversible. Visibility. So here these particles, the particles of lyophilic colloids are not easily detected. So these are not easily detected. The particles of lyophilic colloids are not easily detected under ultra microscope. Under ultra microscope, the particles of lyophilic colloids are not easily detected, whereas these can be detected easily. So the particles are not easily detected. Here the particles are easily detected under ultra microscope. Next, viscosity. So here viscosity of lyophilic colloids is more. Viscosity is more than dispersion medium. Whereas here nearly same as a dispersion medium. In case of lyophilic colloids, the viscosity of total solution is more than compared to the viscosity of dispersion medium. Take an example, same starch. If you compare the viscosity of a starch solution and water, which is more viscous? Starch is more viscous than water. That means the colloidal solution is having more viscosity than compared to dispersion medium. Now take here also the same example, gold colloidal solution. So if you take a gold colloidal solution, the viscosity of gold colloidal solution is nearly same as that of water. The reason behind this is affinity only. Here there exists a strong affinity between dispersed phase and dispersion medium. As a result, the viscosity of total solution will be increased than dispersion medium. Whereas here almost negligible affinity or no affinity is there. As a result, the interaction between dispersed phase and dispersion medium is negligible. Hence, the viscosity remains almost nearly same. So here viscosity is more, here viscosity is nearly same as that of dispersion medium. Surface tension. As you know, if viscosity is more, surface tension is less. So here surface tension is less than dispersion medium as it is. Now in this case, this is nearly same as that of dispersion medium. More the viscosity, lesser is the surface tension. So here surface tension of total solution is less than compared to dispersion medium, whereas here surface tension is nearly same as that of dispersion medium. Now solvation. This is also called as a hydration if the solvent is water. Solvation or hydration both refer same. See what is meant by solvation. Let us take this is a colloidal particle. Now this colloidal particle is associated with some solvent molecules around it. Means some solvent molecules are binded to this colloidal particle. This process of association of solvent molecules with a colloidal particle is nothing but called as solvation. If the solvent is water, the same is termed as hydration. Now in case of lyophilic, there exists a strong affinity between this dispersed phase particle and this dispersion medium particle. So more number of solvent molecules are associated with this dispersed phase particle. So here solvation is more. Dispersed phase and dispersion means the colloidal particles are more extensively solvated. the solvation of particle is more extensive, whereas in case of this, less. Because here there is no affinity. There is no affinity between the solvent molecules and dispersion phase particles. So less extensively solvated. So because of more affinity, this is more extensively solvated, and because of less affinity, this is less extensively solvated. Addition of electrolyte. See, to a colloidal solution, if you add some electrolytes, it causes coagulation. A simple example, take some milk, add few drops of lemon water. What happens? It causes curdling of milk. Okay. Take some starch solution, add some external electrolyte like NaCl and other alkaloids. Then what happens? The starch particles will get settled. And one more example I'll tell you. Take some dirty water. To the dirty water, if you add some alum powder, what happens? That alum causes settling of that dirty particles. Okay, means colloidal particles undergo coagulation, the particles get settled. So whenever an electrolyte is added to a colloidal solution, it causes the coagulation of colloidal particles. As a result, the colloidal particles get settled. Okay. Now, in case of lyophilic colloids, for the coagulation of particles, we have to add a large amount of electrolyte. Large amount of electrolyte is required in case of lyophilic colloids. Whereas in case of lyophobic colloids, just a less amount of electrolyte is sufficient. So when an electrolyte is added to a colloidal solution, it causes coagulation of colloidal particles. Since here there is a strong affinity between dispersed phase and dispersion medium, large amount of electrolyte is required for coagulation of the particles. Here there is less affinity, so less amount of electrolyte is sufficient for coagulation of colloidal particles. So here more solvent is required, there is electrolyte is required. Here less amount of electrolyte is required. Migration under electric field. See, migration under electric field depends upon the charge present on the particles. Colloidal particles are charged. They may possess either positive charge or a negative charge, depending on the method of preparation. In case of lyophilic colloids, the particles may or may not migrate. Why? Because here the colloidal particles are more extensively solvated. If more extensively solvated, the particle size is more, then mobility will be less. So the migration under electric field is not easy here, may or may not. So slightly or slowly it will migrate. In case of this here, there is no affinity and there is extent of solvation. Since extent of solvation is less, the particles can be migrated easily. The colloidal particles migrate easily in case of lyophobic colloids. The particles can migrate or may not migrate, or if migrate slowly, that takes place in case of lyophilic colloids. So this is regarding the comparison between lyophilic and lyophobic colloids. Let us see once again. Affinity. In lyophilic colloids, there exists a strong affinity between dispersed phase and dispersion medium. In case of lyophobic colloids, there exists less affinity between dispersed phase and dispersion medium. Stability. Lyophilic colloids are more stable. Lyophobic colloids are less stable. Preparation method. Lyophilic colloids can be prepared by direct mixing of a dispersed phase and dispersion medium, whereas lyophobic colloids are prepared by some special methods. Reversibility. In lyophilic colloids, once if you separate a dispersed phase and a dispersion medium, again by direct mixing of the two phases, we can get back the original colloids. That means lyophilic colloids are reversible, whereas lyophobic colloids are irreversible. Visibility. See, in case of lyophilic colloids, the particles are not easily detected under microscope. Whereas in case of lyeophobic colloids, the particles can be detected easily under microscope. Viscosity. Since there exists a strong affinity, viscosity of colloidal solution is more than compared to dispersion medium. Here less affinity is there, so almost nearly same viscosity will be there, as well as surface tension also. So surface tension is less in lyophilic, it is almost the same in a lyeophobic. Solvation. Since there exists a strong affinity between dispersed phase and dispersion medium, the colloidal particles are more extensively solvated. Here extent of solvation is very less, almost negligible. Addition of electrolyte. Since there exists a strong affinity between dispersed phase and dispersion medium, to separate both the phases, large amount of electrolyte should be required, whereas here less amount of electrolyte is sufficient to separate both the phases. Migration under electric field. Lyophilic colloids particles may or may not migrate easily under electric field, whereas lyeophobic colloidal particles can migrate easily under electric field. So this is an important comparison. There is a differences between lyophilic and lyeophobic colloids. So this is the classification of colloids based on the affinity between dispersed phase and dispersion medium. This is the second classification. Now come to one more classification, that is a classification based on nature of the dispersed phase particles. Based on nature of colloidal particles. So classification based on the nature of colloidal particles. So here, depending on the nature of colloidal particles, the colloidal solutions are classified into three types. The first one is multi-molecular colloids. The second one is macromolecular colloids. Multi-molecular colloids, macromolecular colloids, and the third one is associated colloids. So this is the classification based on the nature of the colloidal particles in a colloidal solution. Now, see the first one here, multi-molecular colloids. See, these are the colloidal solutions. Here the colloidal particles are formed by the association of more number of molecules or atoms even. So atoms or molecules are combined and forms a colloidal particle. That's what is called as a multi-molecular colloid. So these are the colloidal solutions in which the colloidal particles are formed by the combination of a large number of molecules or atoms. See an example here, gold colloidal solution, gold salt, sulfur salt, or you can take silver salt. These are some examples for multi-molecular colloids. So if you take a gold salt, see in gold salt, a colloidal sized particle of gold is formed by the combination of more number of gold atoms. A certain number of gold atoms are aggregated, and then we can get a colloidal sized particle, and that colloidal sized particle dispersed in water. And depending on the size of this gold colloidal particle, we can get different colors. Suppose if the size of the gold particle is more, then colloidal solution is having blue color colloidal solution you can get. If the size of the gold colloidal particle is less, then we can get a red color colloidal solution. So depending on the number of gold atoms combined, the size of the colloidal particle depends. Depending on the size of the colloidal particle, we can get a different colors for the colloidal solution here. Sulfur salt. See, sulfur colloidal solution contains S8 molecules. Sulfur molecular formula is S8. So nearly greater than 1000 molecules. More than 1000 molecules of sulfur are combined and exist as a colloidal particle. So more number of molecules are combined here, means exist together. That's what is called as a multi-molecular. More number of molecules or even atoms. So if more number of atoms or molecules together exist and exist as a colloidal particle, then that colloidal solution is called as multi-molecular colloid solution. Come to the second one here, macromolecular colloidal solutions. So macromolecules are nothing but polymers. Polymers are macromolecules. So if you take a naturally occurring polymers like starch, cellulose, protein, gum. Okay. These are some examples for naturally occurring polymers. Synthetic polymers, polythene, there is nothing but man-made polymers. Polythene, polyesters, polyamides, polystyrene. All these are man-made polymers. These are natural polymers. These are man-made polymers. When these polymeric substances, generally, like starch. So a starch molecule contains around 200 to 250 molecules minimum. Minimum 200 to 250 molecules are associated together, and its molecular mass is more. Generally, polymers are having molecular mass near to 10,000 approximately around. So now these polymeric substances get dispersed in a dispersion medium as colloidal sized particles. If the macromolecules get dispersed in dispersion medium as colloidal sized particles, then the colloids formed are called as macromolecular colloids. So these are the colloidal solutions in which polymeric substances get dispersed in a dispersion medium as colloidal sized particles. Those are called as macromolecular colloids. This is second one. Associated colloids. And for this, an example is the soap micelle. Soap micelle is an example for associated colloid. Itself in the word, the meaning is that associated, association. Means these are formed by the association of simple particles. Simple electrolyte particles undergo association and exist as a colloidal solution, so colloidal particle. As a result, what the colloidal particle formed here is called as associated colloid. A best example is soap micelle. Soap micelle is an associated colloid. Nothing but, as per definition, these are the substances which acts as electrolyte at low concentration, whereas at high concentration undergo association and exist as colloidal sized particles. Such are called as associated colloids. Example, soap micelle. Let us see here now what is soap micelle, how the soap micelle is formed here. See, commonly used soap is nothing but sodium stearate, C17H35 COO-Na. This is nothing but sodium stearate. Or you can take detergents also. nothing but a sodium lauryl sulfate, CH3. This is nothing but a sodium lauryl sulfate. This is a soap, whereas this is detergent. Sodium salts of sulfonated long chain hydrocarbon. This is sodium salt of sulfonated long chain hydrocarbon is nothing but detergent. Sodium salts of long chain fatty acids are nothing but soaps. Now, if you take a sodium stearate, when small amount of sodium stearate is added to water, what happens? This sodium stearate splits into C17, H35, COO minus and Na plus. And this we can represent in bond line structure form like this. So this is nothing but a COO minus part. This is nothing but a hydrocarbon chain which contains 17 carbons. This is nothing but a stearate ion. This is stearate ion. Now this stearate ion contains two parts. One is a hydrophobic part and one more is hydrophilic part. This is hydrophobic part. This is a hydrophilic part. Hydrophobic means water repelling group. Hydrocarbon part is repelled by water, whereas this is negatively charged, a polar group. Polar groups are attracted by water. So this is a hydrophilic group. Simply, this hydrophobic part. What is the hydrocarbon part is there? This is called as a tail part. Whereas this COO minus, what the hydrophilic part is there, this is called as head part. So this stearate ion contains two parts, hydrophobic part and hydrophilic part. Now, when this soap is added to water, what happens? When soap is added to water, first sodium stearate splits into ions, then these are oriented like this. So this is a tail part and this is head part. So at low concentrations, means when a small amount of soap is added to water, first soap dissociates to give stearate ion and Na plus ions, and each stearate ion exists individually like this. So whenever the concentration of the soap is increased to a certain minimum value, what we call them as CMC, called as critical micelle concentration, called as simply CMC, critical micelle concentration. So whenever the concentration of this soap solution reaches to critical micelle concentration, then these particles undergo association. So what is critical micelle concentration is the minimum concentration of the solution required for the formation of micelles, means for association of the stearate particles. There is nothing but a critical micelle concentration. Now, so whenever concentration is increased, then what happens? These ions are pulled into the water, and so this is negatively charged part. So this negatively charged particles repel each other, and this hydrocarbon part attract each other. So now, whenever the concentration reaches to micelle concentration, these ions are pulled into the water strongly, and the hydrocarbon part are associated like this. That means hydrocarbon part attach with one another. Since that head part is negatively charged, that head parts repel with each other. So tail parts attract each other like this. Then we can get a large sized particle like this. Now the size of this particle is in the range of colloidal sized particle. And this colloidal sized particle, what is formed here, this is called as micelle. Okay, so micelle is nothing but the colloidal sized particle formed by the association of the simple ions, each having both hydrophobic and hydrophilic ends. So once again, the colloidal sized particle formed by the association of simple particles or electrolyte particles which contains both a hydrophobic part and hydrophilic part, that is called as a micelle. And this micelle is an example of associated colloid. So at low concentration, soap acts as electrolyte, but at high concentration, the same soap can act as a colloidal solution. So in examples also we discussed the micelle is a typical colloidal solution. Soap is an example for a typical colloid because at low concentration it acts as electrolyte, but at high concentration it can act as micelle. Generally, for the formation of this micelle, the concentration of soap solution required is 10 power minus 3 to 10 power minus 4 moles per liter. At the concentration of 10 power minus 3 to minus 4 moles per liter, then we can get a critical micelle concentration. If the concentration is less than 10 power minus 4 moles, then these micelles will not be formed. Soap solution just acts as a true solution. And one more term is there here, Kraft temperature. What is Kraft temperature? See, if the temperature is very less here, then the association of these particles cannot take place. For the association of these particles to form the micelle, certain minimum temperature is required. That is what is called as a Kraft temperature. Means the temperature above which the association of this stereotype ions takes place to form colloidal particle. That is called as Kraft temperature. So two conditions are required for the formation of this associated colloids. One is critical micelle concentration. So this is the minimum concentration that is required for the association of this stereotype ions to form the colloid. And we should have to maintain certain minimum temperature, that is what is required, called as Kraft temperature. So if these two conditions are satisfied, then only the formation of micelles takes place, and that is nothing but formation of associated colloids. So associated colloids are nothing but the substances which acts as electrolyte at low concentration but undergo association at higher concentration and forms colloidal sized particles and forms colloids, nothing but, that is called as associated colloids. So this is the classification based on nature of colloidal particles. See once again. Based on the nature of the colloidal particles, the colloids are classified into three types. Multimolecular colloids means here more number of molecules are exist together and forms a colloidal sized particle, even atoms. Example, gold salt, silver salt, platinum salt, or sulfur salt. These are examples of multimolecular colloids. Macromolecular colloids. These are formed by the polymeric substances. So when polymeric substances get dispersed as a colloidal sized particle in a dispersion medium, then we can get macromolecular colloids. And that polymeric substance may be natural or may be synthetic. Protein, starch, cellulose, gum, these are some natural polymers. Polyethylene, polystyrene, polyamides, polyesters, these are some examples of synthetic polymers. These disperse in water as colloidal sized particle, then those are called as macromolecular colloid. Associated colloid. So these are the substances which acts as electrolyte at low concentration and acts as the colloidal particles at a high concentration by the association of a large number of particles here. And here linearly, more than 100 stereotype ions are associated in the formation of one micelle. Such type of are called as associated colloids. In the same way, the micelles also found by detergents also. Soaps as well as detergents, both can form micelles. And that micelle is an example of associated colloid. So this is regarding a classification based on the nature of the dispersed phase particles. Now, see what is the use of this micelle formation? So micelle formation plays an important role in a cleaning action of soap. Let us see the mechanism of cleaning action of soap. Soaps and detergents. These plays an important role in the cleaning action. Then what is the mechanism involved in the cleaning action of soap? There is a how dirt particles or oil particles or grease particles can be removed from the surface of cloth. Let us see here. So this is a dirt particle or oil or grease particle present on the cloth surface. So whenever this cloth is dipped in a water containing is a soap solution or a detergent solution, then what happens? Say this is stereotype ions. This is tail part and this is head part. So whenever the cloth is dipped in soap water, then among these two parts, which part will be attracted by this oil or grease particle? So this grease is nothing but hydrocarbon. Now this hydrocarbon part can attract the hydrocarbon part, not this hydrophilic part. So this grease attract the tail part of stereotype ion. Now the stereotype ion tail part binds to this like this. On the surface, the stereotype ions means the tail part of the stereotype ion can dissolve this grease. Now what happens around this here head part is there which is having negative charge. This is attracted by the surrounding water molecules. What are the surrounding water molecules is there? These surrounding water molecules can attract this head part by electrostatic interaction. As a result, these water molecules can pull the grease or dirt or oil particle present on the surface of cloth. Then this oil or grease particle can be removed from the surface of cloth. So whenever this oil or grease particle can be removed from the surface of the cloth, see already here some are attached here. Like this, initially some are attached. So whenever this is removed from the surface of the cloth, then this is completely surrounded by the stereotype ions like this. That means the oil particle or grease particle is completely trapped. This is completely trapped by the stereotype ions. Once again, this grease or dirt particle cannot bind to the surface of the cloth. So once it is removed from the surface of cloth, that will be completely binded by stereotype ions. That is the tail part of stereotype ions can dissolve this. And now around this head part, this head part is attracted by water molecules. Now around this the water molecules will be occupied. So water molecules are attracted towards this. Now here a colloidal sized particle is formed. And this colloidal sized particle is nothing but what is called as micelle. And now these micelles are removed along with the water while washing. From the surface of the cloth, these micelles will be removed. So this is the mechanism involved in the cleaning action of soap. Then what is the role of soap here? The main role of soap in the cleaning action is it acts as emulsifying agent. Just it acts as a emulsifying agent for the emulsion of oil dispersed in water. Whenever this oil particles removed from the surface of cloth, that oil particles get dispersed in water. As we discussed yesterday, when a liquid dispersed in another liquid, the colloidal solution is called as emulsion. Okay. Now, this oil particle, what are dispersed in water, are binded by these stearate ions. As a result, it prevents the association of again this oil particles on the surface of cloth. So the main role of a soap in the cleaning action is soap acts as an emulsifying agent for oil dispersed in water type emulsion. So this is the mechanism involved in the cleaning action of soap or detergent. Same mechanism will be there. See once again. So when a cloth containing a dirt or oil or grease particles immersed in a soap water, the tail part of stearate ion dissolves this grease and the head part is oriented outward. And this head part, that is hydrophilic part, is attracted by water molecules, and these water molecules can pull this from the surface of the cloth, and this will be get separated from the surface of cloth, and then this oil or grease particle is completely blocked by, is completely surrounded by the stearate ion. As a result, we can get a colloidal sized particle, and this stearate micelle can be surrounded by water molecules, and that will be removed along with the water during washing process. This is the mechanism. In this, the main role of soap or detergent is nothing but soap or detergent can act as emulsifying agent in the cleaning action. So this is regarding a classification of colloidal solutions. First one based on physical state, second one based on affinity, third one based on nature of colloidal particles. Okay. Next. The next topic is preparation of colloids. So lyophilic colloids can be prepared by direct mixing of dispersed phase and dispersion medium, whereas lyophobic colloids are prepared by some special methods. The main two methods which are used are, one is dispersion methods, and second one is condensation method. Dispersion methods and condensation methods. By using these two methods, we can prepare lyophobic colloids. Let us say some methods in that, as per syllabus mentioned here. The first one is oxidation. On passing hydrogen sulfide gas through bromine water, or even on passing hydrogen gas through the solution of sulfur dioxide, then hydrogen sulfide is oxidized to sulfur. Here sulfur we can get in the form of colloidal solution, not as sulfur atoms. Sulfur forms sulfur molecules, and sulfur molecules are associated and forms colloidal solution plus 2HBr. Now in this case, hydrogen sulfide get oxidized to sulfur, S plus H2O. This is the colloidal solution what is formed here. Here sol means colloidal solution. So colloidal solution of sulfur can be prepared by the oxidation of hydrogen sulfide, either by passing through bromine water or sulfur dioxide. Here hydrogen sulfide is oxidized to sulfur. By oxidation method, here we have prepared a colloidal solution. Second one, a reduction process. See, if AuCl3 auric chloride, when AuCl3 is reduced by using a SnCl2, or even AuCl3 is reduced by using formaldehyde, that is a dilute solution, then AuCl3 is reduced to Au. SnCl2 is oxidized to SnCl4. This is a balanced equation here. Here AuCl3 is reduced to Au. Here gold colloidal solution is obtained here. This is the salt what is formed here, gold salt. This is a reduction process. And here AuCl3 is reduced to Au. And HCHO is oxidized to formic acid plus HCl. Like 6 HCl here, 2, 2, 3, 3 and 3. This is a balanced equation here. So auric chloride is reduced to gold colloidal solution either by using SnCl2 or formaldehyde. This is the reduction method. Next one, hydrolysis. Hydrolysis method. Hydrolysis means decomposition by reacting with water. So if we take a ferric chloride, when ferric chloride undergo hydrolysis, it forms a ferric hydroxide, nothing but a hydrated iron oxide plus HCl. What the ferric hydroxide formed here, this will get precipitated and that precipitate is converted to colloidal solution. So this is nothing but a hydrolysis of ferric chloride. Hydrolysis of ferric chloride gives ferric hydroxide colloidal solution. This forms colloidal solution here. This is nothing but a hydrolysis process. And one more method, double decomposition. So when As2O3, nothing but arsenic oxide, through the solution of arsenic oxide, if you pass hydrogen sulfide gas, then arsenic oxide is converted to arsenic sulfide, As2S3 plus H2O. So this is a double decomposition. A cationic part from first one, anionic part of second one combined. Anionic part of second one and cationic part of the first second one will combine. Then we can get arsenic sulfide and water. This is an example of double decomposition reaction. So arsenic sulfide colloidal solution is obtained by the double decomposition method. That is by passing H2S gas over through arsenic oxide solution. So these are the simple chemical methods what is used for the preparation of colloidal solution. See once, oxidation. Oxidation of hydrogen sulfide by passing through bromine water or sulfur dioxide gives a sulfur colloidal solution. Reduction. Reduction of auric chloride either with SnCl2 or formaldehyde gives a gold colloidal solution. Hydrolysis. Hydrolysis of ferric chloride gives ferric hydroxide colloidal solution. Double decomposition. On passing H2S gas through the solution of arsenic oxide, we can get arsenic sulfide colloidal solution. These are some simple chemical methods which are used for preparation of colloidal solution. Other than this, some other simple methods, some other methods are there. Nothing but peptidization, Bredig arc method. Okay, so those two methods we'll discuss in the next class. This is for today's class.